Welcome to Behind the ABA Talk podcast, where we have heart to heart conversations with ABA experts, thought leaders, and changemakers. Each episode unpacks the stories, insights, and behind the scenes realities that shaped our experts' professional journeys. I'm your host, Lisa Gurdin, founder of Ellis Gurdin Consulting, and it has been such a pleasure to partner with Behavior Live co founder and WEBA executive director Janet Lund for our special podcast series highlighting some of the amazing speakers and innovative talks that will be shared at the upcoming Behaving Boldly conference. And for this episode, Janet and I thought it would be fun and interesting and inspiring to share with one another our own professional journeys, our why, and the work we feel passionate about. So, thank you, Janet, for the whole series and for being here today to share your journey with us as well.
Lisa, I've had so much fun. I have some sadness around the end of our special kind of partnership together because it's been so lovely getting to spend all this time with you, number one, and just being able to talk with these incredible women that you and I have had the privilege to
Right?
do these past few podcasts. So thank you for inviting me into your space and letting me do this with you. I just have loved it and have such an appreciation for all the time and energy and love and effort that goes into putting on a podcast. Like, I think those of us who listen to podcasts are like, it's amazing, but there's a lot of time and energy that you put. And so I can't wait today to talk to you about that and hear more about it because I have a new respect for it. So thank you for your time and dedication and love that you put into this podcast. And I'm sure it's a passion for you. So I can't wait to hear about that today.
Yes, well, I appreciate it, and it's definitely been so inspiring to hear people's stories. It's
Mhm.
one thing to go and see people present on amazing topics and really important topics and learn a lot and be engaged in that way, and also to have the opportunity to learn about them as people,
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
just have that conversation and getting to know people and having that connection because I think it's that connection that truly drives us and
Agreed. I so
offers,
agree.
right, that fulfillment that we're all looking for. So let's start with telling us about the Women Behaving Boldly conference.
Sure, sure. So it's, oh my gosh, next week, January 15th, 16th. And it is a 2-day virtual conference. And we have 22 amazing humans that are presenting on their work and how they are out there using behavior analysis and what I think are amazing, bold ways in changing our field with the way they're looking at behavior analysis with compassion and just a focus on continuing to make the world a better place and how we show up as behavior analysts in that space. And so it's 2 tracks, 2 days. It's going to be a lovely time. So we're just really excited. And it's a way for us as the Weeba community to get together between the July to July when our annual conference is. And so it's nice because it's virtual and we can, say hi to each other in the chat. And so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see these talks, hear these talks, learn from these amazing women. And one of our advisory board members, Dr. Bruce Tenor, he's the only man, he's brave and coming in with us, and we're so grateful. So it's going to be a fabulous conference. So those of you who are already registered, we'll see you there. And if you hear this before the conference, please consider joining. And if you missed it, you can still go on Behavior Live and purchase it because it'll be up for a year. So people can, even if they're listening to this in March, they can go on to Behavior Live and purchase and hear all this great content. So,
That's great. And you can earn CEUs from the on-demand content.
yes, you can. There are 20 CEUs available and it's $99. So it's such a bargain for that many CEUs. So we're just really excited. And today, we at the end, we have a special discount code, and that code will still be good for people even after the fact. They can use it when they register if they're not watching it live. That code that we talk about will still be available to them.
Amazing. Awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about Weeba, how it started, how you got
Sure.
involved, you know, about the
Yeah.
conference? Yeah, tell us about that.
I would love to tell you about that. So, Weba, the original executive director and kind of the person who drove the formation of Weba, was Devin Sundberg. And Weba started in 2017 with this idea of we need to talk about women in behavior analysis, some of the inequities that we see that, yes, we're, because, people will often say, well, why Weba? Like behavior analysis is mainly women. So what do you mean women aren't represented in behavior analysis? But the fact of the matter is our field was shaped, when you think about the early days of behavior analysis, there weren't a lot of very visible women in behavior analysis. It was a lot of white males. And so women have been, making inroads to get into that academic area. And while, yes, there are a lot of women in the field of behavior analysis, we still have some disparities as far as the women that are leading organizations and the professors and research, and that is improving dramatically. And so it's so wonderful to see that. But the idea of WEBA was just a space for us to continue to say, there are amazing things that are happening. We want a place for women to feel empowered, mentored. And one of the things that is just so amazing about WEBA is we have something called the Hall of Fame. And basically, this is every year we induct, and this wasn't originally, WEBA originally was just the conference. And then as Devin was building it and her advisory board was in, Linda LeBlanc was one that said, we should create something that is the WEBA Hall of Fame, where we look back at the women who literally were standing on their shoulders in this field. So, who were the early pioneers in behavior analysis, the early female pioneers in behavior analysis? And so, we have a whole committee that is all women on within WEBA, and we nominate, research, determine who meets criteria. There's criteria for who can be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And each year we induct 4 to 6 women. And one of the things we do is we have an induction ceremony at WEBA, which is amazing. And it's like a history lesson in behavior analysis, Lisa. It's so cool because it's an hour and a half presentation where different people, and we try and see if we can have one of the people's mentees present if we can. And if the woman is still alive, like Dr. Nancy Neath came last year, she got inducted in 2025 and she was at WEBA. So we got to hear and meet her, which was so cool.
Yeah.
And we have like a social afterwards, and she was there hanging around and meeting people in the WEBA community. And so it's just this beautiful place where we say, there are women who deserve this acknowledgement and we want to acknowledge them. So we do that. But then we also write an article and publish it in Behavior Analysis and Practice so that we can have that in print forever. These women, what they did in behavior analysis, in the history of how they have shaped our field. And then we also are developing right now on our website a whole place where people can go back and watch all of those past inductions, learn about all these amazing women, where if they didn't get those accolades while they were alive, we are certainly going back and saying, you know what, we owe you a debt of gratitude. And as women in the field, we thank you for the battle you fought in different times than we are in now. And so it's just such an uplifting um, organization, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. WEBA is not a membership organization. We basically have an advisory board, a conference committee, and a Hall of Fame committee. And, we have people come in, and if anybody's ever interested in getting involved with WEBA, they can reach out to me. You can find me at janet@behaviorlive.com or janet@theweba.com, or you can just go to theweba.com and reach out to us. There's some contact information. And so it's just been a thrilling thing to get involved in. I went to the first WEBA, so I attended the conference. And going to your final question, this was a really long answer, I'm sorry, but going to the final question, how I got involved, Devin Sundberg, Behavior Live was involved with WEBA because, COVID happened. Remember that? That was awful. And Devin approached us at Behavior Live and was like, okay, y'all need to help me because I have to put this conference on. It's important. And so once we got involved, we sort of stayed involved. And when Devin was ready, she poured blood, sweat, and tears into this conference and did such a beautiful, amazing job that I think she was ready for a well-deserved break from that. And so she reached out and said, I need to know we was going to go somewhere that it won't wither and die. So she knew that we were committed with Behavior Live to supporting and being there. And so she just reached out and said, would you consider us moving all of this over to you? And I've loved it. That was in 2023. And I just have, it's been a highlight of my career, to be frank. So I've really enjoyed, the years I've put in and working with Carrie Ann Van Hoover. She came over too. So she was working with Devin as the conference director. And luckily, I was blessed that she decided to come along for the ride and trust that, I would take care of it with her. And so that's been a lovely partnership too for me to have Carrie's knowledge of the history and what she and Devin have done over the course of the years before I was on the inside involved.
It's, I love hearing about how things get started.
Hmm.
Like this Reba thing that learned about not that long ago somehow. And I was like, what is this? And to hear that backstory and to see how it has grown and how it has grown in a way that stays true to its original mission, which you've done so
Hmm.
beautifully, Janet, I think
Thank you.
is
Thank you.
really, really cool. And I love that women have this space because we deal with different things.
Yes, absolutely. Look, my husband is a PhD behavior analyst, just like I am, and it is different, and it's not better or worse. It's just different, and that's okay, right? But to understand, we need to find a place where we can be around like-minded individuals. And one of the things about Weeba is men come to Weeba. Like everybody thinks, oh my gosh, can I come to Weeba if I'm a man? We have men who are like, absolutely, I understand that women fight different battles than I fight in the field of behavior analysis. There are lots of men that love and are friends with lots of women. And so it is not, if people are listening to this, WEBA is not just for women, right? It's the conference. We would love for you to be there. Please don't feel like you will be an outsider. I think all the men get more high fives than the women when we see them there because we're just like, thanks for being like, yes. And the content is amazing. And the messages,
Yeah.
maybe they don't want to go to the talk on, breastfeeding or menopause or whatever, but uh, there's still so much behavior analytic content there and what's happening in our field and the research that these amazing women are doing in our field. And we have male presenters. So, there are lots of men who go through our call for papers. And we are thrilled to have them present and be a part of WEBA. So, it's just been a special space to be involved in. And I thank you for being part of WEBA. I constantly say, WEBA isn't one person or two people. Carrie and I may be the staff of WEBA, but we are all Weeba, right? So that's what I think makes it so special, because I really do believe people want to be a part of that, because it is, we our theme for this coming year. I'm giving you a sneak peek. Our theme for this year's Weeba in Chicago is rooted in science, growing in community. And it's this idea that as behavior analysts, we are 100% rooted in our science. Like we're behavior analysts, but Weeba is this community where we can be vulnerable and authentic and supportive, and you know be around other people who are like-minded and understand the struggles and are willing to say, that's a struggle for me. Like, one of the things we do at the end of Weeba is we have all of our invited speakers come up and close the whole conference with like an informal Q&A. And so they're up there and we're asking questions, and these women are so vulnerable and honest. And, as the audience, there are people who are like, thank you. Just like your podcast, people come in and you see them just like this podcast, Lisa. Like, it's just a microcosm of a space where people are like, I'm going to show you the human side of me too, right? I may be a baddie behavior analyst, but I'm also a human that has all the other things going on.
Yes, and then I think, when you're with your peers, right, then you can really validate each other and you can say, I see you, I hear you. And you know what?
Right.
You are enough. You are
Yes. You are enough. Right.
You are enough.
Exactly.
And I think we don't hear that, say that, share that enough. And there's always that doubt. I'm not doing this enough. I'm not doing that enough. I'm not, especially as women. This is, I think, a
Yes.
common theme for
Oh,
us as moms and, you know, dog moms and, pet moms
right.
and
Yes.
the household manager and the professional and care giver, all the things, all the hats that we wear. And it's so easy to never feel like we're enough of anything. And we need each
Preach.
other
Yep.
to
Yes, we do.
say, look at all of the amazing things that you have done. And you haven't done what that person has done, and you haven't done what that person has done. And you don't have to do those things, right?
Exactly.
You do
Exactly.
you of what
You do you.
for you. And
Yes.
in that process, we do build that community. And that's so important for me as well with all the things that I do. It's not just to put out content, on the podcast or content in the social media or content on the CE program that's hosted on Behavior Live. It's not just about that, right? It's about
Right.
highlighting people's passions and their work and how they are contributing to our science and to the application of our science. It is about that connection and creating that space where we are learning together, asking questions together,
Hmm.
sharing that we don't know about that topic. Please
Right.
tell us
And
what,
it's okay. Like,
right, right.
learn. Right.
Right. And,
Yeah.
tell us all about that. We appreciate that. And we love learning and talking and sharing and being vulnerable together. And there's just
Yes.
not enough of that in the world. And so I so appreciate having Reba and that space to,
Yeah.
you appreciate community too, because I
So
think,
much.
so,
Life is meant to be lived in community, and life is hard,
right,
and professional life is hard. And you can struggle, as you and I have talked about, with imposter syndrome or not feeling like you're doing enough, and having somebody else just say, like you said, I see you, you're enough, and you don't have to do what that person is
right.
doing. That's that person's path. And
That's right.
you know what? I am grateful that there are people who want to be professors
Yeah.
and be in research labs, because that was not my path, right? My PhD was not for me to go that path. And so I think you're so right in that idea. We each have our own kind of path. And so I have to ask, I feel like I get to be the podcaster now, Lisa. I would like to ask you a question you get to ask everybody else, but I would love to know, Lisa, what is your professional journey? Like, we know you do this amazing podcast and put out content and have consulted. Like, you have your fingers in so many things. Will you tell us, like, how did you start? What's your path to get here and your why?
Sure, sure. Yes, this is a shift for me in this
I know,
podcast
girl.
space. Um, yeah, so
You're in the
I
hot seat.
I am in the hot seat. Well, it's interesting because I've been around a long time, like you have, Janet, right? Like we've seen the and been part of the evolution of our science, and that gives us, I think, a historical perspective on
Hmm.
where we were, where we are today, and where we should be going. And I think
Yeah.
that perspective is really important. And that for me, that really started in 1994, I think, ish, and I was
Mm.
in grad school. I was actually a dance major, and so I was going to go into dance therapy
Amazing.
and go down that road. And I loved working with kids and wanted to make a difference. And I applied to a job to work with a 6-year-old autistic kiddo. And I fell in love with it. I just loved him and the work and ABA. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. What is this? And I wanted to learn more. And so then I started working with more and more families. And at the time, we were doing 40-hour week in-home behavior therapy.
Yeah.
That was what we were doing, right? And it was so much fun and amazing. And so then I decided to get my graduate degree in behavior analysis. And at that time, there was no PhD option. There was just a
Yep.
master, and there were
Yep.
only a few programs at the time. So I moved to Boston, went to the Northeastern MABA program where I teach
Mm.
now, and so I went that route. I worked at the May Institute for a little bit in professional development. I worked in brain injury rehab for a little bit as well. I did some publishing, and I was so lucky to be connected to incredible mentors who showed me, how to write and publish and talk, present. And so I sort of did that for a while and then got into special education consultation and worked for special education collaborative here and started supervising other behavior analysts. And then in 2017, I decided to take a break and be with my family. My kids were the heart
Hmm.
for our family, and I made the very difficult decision to take a break. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that. My husband was supportive. We were able to manage it. And I was very fortunate to be able to make that choice. But that was a really hard choice for me because
Yes.
I
It's
wasn't,
brave.
I was hard. I'm not
Yes.
my path was not to, give up my career. That wasn't my goal. That wasn't my idea. It was hard to say my family needs me now.
Hmm.
And so it was the best decision that I could have made for that period of time. But once I got everyone back together, put all the put all the pieces to
Pieces back together.
put it all back. I decided it was time, but I decided it was time for me to do my own thing on my time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am a big idea person. So I've always had these ideas for different programs and different things I wanted to do, and I wanted to be able to do them. I didn't want someone to tell me no. And so I started paving my way, my path as an entrepreneur and as a consultant, supporting families with parent coaching, supporting schools with consultation and evaluation. And I knew that I had a lot to say and others had a lot to say. So I started, well, actually, prior to that, I had done a behavior analyst roundtable as part of my work with the collaborative. So we had
Mm-hmm. Fun.
together and talking. And then at some point I was like, well, I should become an ACE provider and we should get CEs for this. So that evolved. And then COVID hit, as you mentioned. And I was like,
Yes.
well, we got to do something here online. And then I found Behavior Live. I don't even know how
You were an early adopter of Behavior
I
Live. Thank you
was. And
so much.
I was like, I need this. I need this, not only the platform, but I need these people to support
Thank you.
me. And really your team, Janet, that you have at Behavior Live is they're so good at what they do and they're good people And
Thank you. They are great people. They are really great people.
they are such,
We hit the jackpot. They are
oh,
just amazing. Everybody. Yep.
you really did. And it's been such a pleasure to grow together and you know, to really support the work that we're doing, which is,
Yeah.
like I said before, not only putting out content that matters, right? I want content that matters and content that helps
Yes.
to push our field forward, content that fills in gaps in our learning, because there's
Hmm.
a lot of them, and our field moving, well, it's moving quickly and slowly all at the
Quickly.
same time,
Yep.
right? So there's some of us who are moving quickly and some of us who are not. And part of that, I think, is some gaps in understanding and learning and sharing, and that I want to try to fill. That I think the Reba conference is filling those gaps in how we can be true to our science and move it forward in innovative ways.
Hmm.
I think that's
Hmm.
not always clear to everybody.
Yep.
Field. Um, so yeah, and then let's see, and then I just keep noticing needs in the field, like needs in schools and for families. So I started helping schools recruit people to work, and so to get the right people
Amazing.
in the right places. And then I thought, well, we also need to create community. So what about this podcast idea? And that has been so fun and amazing and inspiring for me, and hopefully for others as well. And yeah, I really just want to help as many children access the services they need to achieve their potential, to have the right people in place for them to do that, to support
Hmm.
parents to learn real life strategies that they can use to make their lives easier, to help support their
Hmm.
um, and to help our field. So I supervise, I teach at Northeastern, and through the continuing education is all sorted to help us connect and move together forward, um, as a field. And we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot
Hmm.
of work to do, and I think it's going to take all hands on deck to do it. So I feel like I'm just kind of doing my part as you
You are
are.
certainly paddling the heck out of that boat, girl, and your entrepreneurial spirit and your heart is so evident in all of it, Lisa. Like it's just, looking at that and saying, how do you do all that? Like to see a need and go after it. And I think there's something, as you were talking, I thought, you and I are very similar in the sense
Yes.
of, I think we have these huge hearts that want to do good, but also this curious spirit of, well, what could I do? Like, how could I help in that area? Like, I want to learn and do something different. Like, I don't want to be afraid of pivoting and thinking and going and following a path and being shaped by my environment, right? So I don't have to stay this one path just because I told myself, well, I told myself I was going to be an OBMer my whole life. And like you just and while OBM is ingrained in who I am and I do use it every day of my life, I'm not consulting at an OBM
Right.
job anymore in the same way. And so I love it that you just kind of pivot and follow where you feel the need is and where your heart is telling you to go. Your brain says, I can do that,
Yes.
and let me just push my resources and efforts into trying to help fix that problem, because like you said, there are a lot of problems in our whole world today.
Yes.
So there is, behavior analysis can change the way the world works, and so we know how to do that. It's just the effort of finding the place where we want to point the science and do the work there.
Yes. And we have to find our own path, right? Like we
Yes,
have
and
to,
it's all different. It's different for everyone.
and there's places for everybody, and
Yes.
to be strong in that, in yourself and
Hmm.
in that path, and to shift path,
Yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
totally cool to say this is not for me, or I love this and I want to do this. So I'm going to shift and go over here for a little bit. And oh, I really like this. So now that
Exactly.
you and I, we talked with Melanie Page, who supports behavior analysts to find
Yes.
paths for themselves. And I appreciate that so much because as young professionals, and I want to hear about your path, uh, Janet, but as young professionals, it's hard to have the courage,
Oh,
confidence, wherewithal to even uh, entertain an alternative path. I think that that's
absolutely.
very hard to do. So, how did you get to Behavior Live and to this place? And tell us.
My path is I was an undergrad student at FSU, a business major with a psych minor. And I really thought I wanted to go into some kind of consumer behavior or IO psychology, or, I wanted business, but I wanted business with kind of a psychology side to it. And while I was in my first 2 years of business school, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, I don't love this. Maybe it was the accounting class I took. My best friend's an accountant, and we went to school together, and he's like, yeah, you weren't very good at that class. And I was like, that's true. We all, as you said, we all find our way. But I ended up, while I was doing my psych minor at FSU, I was lucky enough, John Bailey had a lab there, a very active lab of grad students. And this was 1991. And I fell into a class taught by one of John Bailey's grad students. And I just loved the class. It was like a conditioning and learning class. And like many of us have this experience, if we find behavior analysis in school, or like yours, you worked with a kid and you were like, what is this magic? Like, I love this. So I just happened to be lucky enough that I was able to switch my major and took a performance management class with John Bailey. And talk about luck. I'm 19, 20 years old, meeting John Bailey. You know how he loves behavior analysis, and it was contagious. And Aubrey Daniels was an adjunct faculty member at Florida State and came down, would do guest lectures. And I met Aubrey, and everyone who knows Aubrey, you just fall madly in love with the human. He is just um, a incredible, incredible man and advocate of behavior analysis. And so I decided, all right, this is what I want to do. So off I went, I kind of wanted to stay at FSU all the way through. And John was like, no, Janet, go somewhere else. Like, let's get you a different experience. So off I went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, got my master's degree there, and then decided I wanted to come back, came back, worked with John, got my PhD in the lab at Florida State, and graduated in 99 and went straight to work with Aubrey Daniels. Like, I had kept that relationship, and I was just one of the fortunate ones that actually got to go work at Aubrey Daniels International. And I was there in some capacity for 17 years on and off. But during that time, I went part time because my husband also got his PhD, and we started an ABA company in Atlanta, consulting in schools like you, doing in home work. I got pregnant, decided I can't travel. And so I went part time in 2003, and worked half at Aubrey Daniels International and half at our clinical company. And through that, at our clinical company, it was during the time that, do you remember when the iPhone had the commercial, there's an app for that? Do you
Yes.
remember that in like 2000, whatever it was, 2001,
Yeah.
2003? I can't even remember, somewhere around then. Kobe and I were looking for a data collection app. We're like, well, we're doing all these binders. Somebody has to do
Right.
this. And ultimately, that led us to starting a company called Data Finch Technologies, which we were the first data collection software on an iPhone, like on Catalyst. And I met Chris Coken. Like we started that company with Chris Coken. That's a whole other story. But so we did that work together for many years. So I stopped working at ADI, really pivoted over to the clinical company and Data Finch. And then when we sold Data Finch, I had spent so much time, I don't know if you feel this way, but when you meet people who are like-minded and you love to work with and you gel, it's like if one thing comes to an end, you really want to pivot and find out how do we stay working together? And that's what it was with Chris. So, we're co-founders of Behavior Live with Chris, and Chris is just a mastermind of a human and such a creative. His background is in development and computer science, and he just is a wizard at all those things. And that's sort of the start of when we sold Data Finch. We were like, there's still work to do. And while it may not be in data collection, it's in ways that we can help behavior analysts. And that is by bringing them together and having a platform for content so that when people can't travel and when things happen, and, we started Data Finch in 2019. And then, of course, COVID and that kind
Yeah,
of changed things just because lots of conferences were like, well, we want to do hybrid. And so that's the genesis of all of it. And so it's been, to your point, a very wandering path, right? So OBM and then clinical and then technology. And I just have said, where is there a problem? And
right.
I want to learn that. I want to solve that. I want to be a part of that. And, learning is such a reinforcing activity for me
Uh,
that I never want to stop learning. And so I've just been insanely fortunate to be able to learn in so many different pockets of ABA, and it applies, as we all know. Everybody who's listening knows this. It can be used anywhere and is of insane value wherever we choose to apply the science with care and grace and kindness. So
Absolutely. Well, that's amazing, and I love how you know, pivoted based on the need and the environment that we're living in, and
yeah,
that, ooh, let's do that, and then finding those people who have expertise that you don't.
yes,
Who
oof, right.
together you do.
Find your people.
I mean,
Find your
find your
people.
people
It,
and
it
find your,
matters.
it really does. And I love finding people who know the things I don't. I love it.
Yes,
I just
yes,
I just grab onto them like,
yes,
okay,
yes.
show me, you know?
Exactly. So, speaking of things we don't know, I would love to hear from you a little teaser about what you're going to be talking to us, because I am so excited that you're one of our invited speakers at Women Behaving Boldly. And we are thrilled to have your expertise there and to learn from you. Will you give us just a glimpse of what are you going to be talking to us about?
Well, I am so excited, and I was just so honored that you invited me to speak,
Thrilled.
and that you agreed to do this special series podcast, which has been amazing. And just for me to be part of this incredible community is
Mm.
wonderful. So thank you so much, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Lisa.
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
talk about one of my favorite topics I thought I'd bring to women behaving boldly. It's about superpowers, actually.
Mhm.
And it's um, not quite what it seems in the sense of just we're going to talk us up as behavior analysts. We're really going to kind of break it down a little bit and talk about how important it is to evolve and to hone the things that we do well and do them better. So it's really a conversation, a fun conversation about superheroes and about superpowers. And then really looking at some of the key superpowers that we have, that we learn as behavior analysts, that we have as people in the field doing the work. And then the ways in which we can do better, right? Hone those skills. Be talking about collaboration and about resilience and about data, how we think about deal with data. And just it's just a really fun conversation, and I'm excited to share this approach of talking about kind of ethics and where we are and where we're going, and celebrating those things and saying, hey, and there's an ongoing learning process that we need to do with for ourselves and with one another. So it's going to be a fun talk. I am excited.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. It sounds absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
And ethics, that's something we all continue to want to, we want it to be black and white, like we talked about with Dr. Sarah Lichtenberger a few sessions ago, this idea of the messy middle and how do we take our science and be superheroes and, in our own lives and the lives of those around us, and how do we use our influence for good, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And influence for good in small ways and in big ways. And,
Yeah.
you know, we need it all. We need all of
Yes.
that. And just thank you, Janet, for this special
Mm,
podcast, for sharing our journeys and what
love
inspires
it.
us. It has been amazing. And so I so appreciate you being here.
Thanks for letting me be here, Lisa.
This has been a special series of Behind the ABA Talk podcast with myself, Lisa Gurdin, and Janet Lund. Be sure to check out the Women Behaving Boldly conference. It is coming up January 15th and 16th, 2026. This is a great way to start the new year. Even if you can't make it that moment, it definitely will be on demand, and you will hear cutting edge topics from inspiring women in the field of behavior analysis. And Janet, what is our special code for our podcast listeners? Discount code.
Yeah, if yes, please, if you go to theweba.com and you register, there's a registration link there that'll take you to Behavior Live to register. In there, there'll be a section for a discount code, and the code is podcast 88 because that will take the price down to $88 for your podcast listeners. So if you
Okay.
miss us live and you're listening to this after the 16th, still go on. You won't want to miss it, and that code will still be good. So we hope that you'll join us. And thanks, Lisa, for letting me do this. Not just this one, but all of the ones before. I've just loved every minute of it and been inspired by you and all of the guests you brought in. So thank you for allowing me to share space.
Yes, it has been an incredible experience. I love having you as a co-host, and I'm thrilled that you were able to share your professional journey with
Oh,
us
thanks.
today. Um, I will see you at the WEBA, Women Behaving Boldly.
Yes, you will.
And a special thank you to my podcast producer, Cole Asher Selsnick. Thanks so much.
Bye.